Shalom, welcome to the Working Class Chronicles. I am your host, Renaissance Woman, aka Ren Judah, and I know I said I was going to do a marathon. However, it just is not working out this week. I have been all over the place doing a bunch of things, but today, I did post earlier about allowing myself to heist 4 hours of work from myself for free doing a project that really is just not going to be conducive to the type of growth that I'm looking for. The type of growth that I'm looking for is going to be built here on this channel. And so I did spend my 4 hours today, well, almost at the fourth hour, working on this leadership slide. And I am going to basically, when I get done with it, teach this class. But I was just thinking about it and I wanted to talk to you guys about it and just flesh it out. And the title of this is that your mission is dead on arrival. And I say that when I look across industries and I look at different organizations and their leadership structure, one of the key components that I always see missing, particularly in larger organizations, especially government, right, is the care for the people. And I do think to a certain degree, we always talk about guys know I come from a law enforcement background, more or less. And, we always talk about the chain of custody. And, when the person is arrested, they are under the care and control of the jailer. They don't have the ability to make decisions for themselves once they are given over to state, city, or federal control. So you have to take care of, yes, even the prisoners. And here's my argument that you may not like. A lot of us are prisoners. You're prisoners of a system, a society that has put you in a place where you're mentally stagnant. Because I can say honestly that I have held a lot of different positions in my life, and it literally didn't hit me until I took the time to write it out how many different hats I've worn, and the experience that I've gained from it, the different communities that I've touched and been around and had access to, really gave me an appreciation for how much everything matters and nothing matters at all. Because at the end of the day, if you're not investing in people, if you're not investing in your community, what are you building? I look at all these companies talking about they're laying off workers because AI is, this is the new innovation and this is how companies are going to grow. But it's like we forgot the whole purpose for creating industry, for creating systems. It is so that people have something to do, because an idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? So here you are, you're setting up a society where you're going to have a lot of aimless and shiftless individuals just running around. And I think we see a lot of it now, as you can look at a lot of communities that are being ravaged by squatter activity. An empty building is an open invitation, right? And so when you have a society that is setting up a squatter mentality, well, is it any wonder that the leadership looks the way that it does? I hear people lamenting this president or that president, when to me it's all the same. It's still the same. It's just you have various attributes that are louder in some of them than others. But both of them have a blatant and willful discard for the people. It is like, and even within organizations. So if you see this, first of all, the people who get elected to these positions, where did they come from? They came from your community. They grew up where you live. They were handpicked, hand chosen from your community. So that's why they're called representatives, because they truly do represent you. Who you elect as a president is an illustration of the life that I believe you live in your society. So if you see this all as vanity, vexation, entitlement, then you have to look no further than your front step, because this is where you live. How do you behave when you go to work? How do you treat the people who you see every day? You can't even be civil to the person getting on the elevator next to you, let alone the person in the next cubicle over or at the next workstation. You won't even say good morning to Laquita at the register because she made you mad last week about an order. You don't know how to get over and get on with it either. You hold grudges over the stupidest shit. You don't have any grace for anybody, but you want all the grace and forgiveness in the world. But you give nothing. I can think about some people I know who have some of the worst attitudes that I've ever seen in my life, and they have the audacity to hold grudges. When your whole existence is a grudge, that's problematic. Nobody's done anything to you, but you are so low lifed and ill in the mind that you have concocted some imaginary story about how you were wronged. When if you were really honest and you looked at yourself, you know, you could acknowledge and see that you live in a glass house. You don't have room to throw any stones. Just imagine people, and I find this happens a lot, even just in the workplace, right? You're all walking around, we're all walking around in our little glass houses, blah, blah, and someone will pick up and throw a rock, and you'll say, hey, don't do that. You're gonna you people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. You're gonna fuck this up for everybody because if you start throwing stones, people are gonna retaliate. Well, then next thing you know, everybody's against you. Because how dare you say that about us? We would never do this. Meanwhile, the rock throwing has reached a crescendo. And all these people are running around here with cracked screens, cracked windows, but you are supposed to pretend that you don't see it. And if you see it, you're the problem. See something, say something is bullshit. See something and get in trouble for something should be what it's called. Get blamed for something is what it should be called. And I know people be like, Ren, this is just negative. I'm not talking negative. I'm talking reality. And the reality of it is, especially if you're in a toxic work environment, you are going to run into some of the oddest shit you have ever seen in your life. And this is where I go back to the leadership, and your mission is failed from the beginning. I can even think about just being promoted to a leadership position. And, they'll send you to some training. It might last 3 or 4 days. And you're having these conversations. And like the conversations are cool. But one thing I pointed out and tried to facilitate was some type of meeting room or group for supervisors. Normally I didn't do middle management yesterday, but let me tell you something. Leadership is always concerned about the optics. They're so concerned about the optics that they fail to see everything else that's going on around them, below them, under them, all the other moving parts, because you're so fixated on what shit looks like. But this is bigger than what it looks like. It may look great, but it smells like shit. You stink. Your politics stinks. Your attitude stinks. The way you govern stinks. The way you treat your employees stinks. The way you treat your kids stink. You don't go see your mother. You treat your dad bad. You're disrespectful, loud, obnoxious, unruly, abusive, aggressive. All the ifs. You got them all. And you found yourself elevated into a position of leadership. And I have a theory behind that. I really believe that the reason why, because, we're just having these conversations like, how do the most toxic people end up propelled to leadership? And I believe it is because of the image. It's a mirage. Keep in mind, the people at the top are always concerned about image. And this person have presented the perfect mirage. Or yeah, you guys are calling them honeypots now. I think that's what you're doing. And listen, that's great, but it profits you nothing in the long run. I think anybody that is serious about running any organization, and especially, and I, to the point where we're reading John Maxwell and the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, there's a part where he talks about when he goes and he interviews these CEOs, and they talk about how if they take over a company, they fire all of management. I didn't get it until now. But even if you fire the person at the top, you still have to address the culture. So, like, it's even with elections. Let's say you remove that person from office and now you replace them. Well, they are coming into a house that's already been established. You're not going to fire everybody in the house because you need for the house to keep functioning. So you can't just go and fire everybody. But what you have to do is put competent and capable leadership in place. You can't just put window dressing on it, because that's why the last people failed, right? Because they were concerned about the optics. And I always think that for people, and in an age where we're always talking about innovation and insight, people are so short-sighted. And like, if you were truly innovating, and when I think of innovation, I think of people who are visionary and futuristic. And I do have a bent towards that. So maybe that's why my mind is always towards the sky, on the Star Trek side of the game. I love technology. I love innovation. But if you don't have intuition, if you don't have discernment, if you lack foresight, how do you win? The people perish because of what? A lack of vision. You didn't think this out. You didn't think this through. I am often baffled by people, especially people who talk about how educated they are, how short-sighted they are. So you didn't, when you made this move, you didn't think about, okay, if I do this, what might they do? You don't have any damn common sense. So for me, a lot of times when I'm listening to a lot of these eggheads run around here talking about all these degrees they have, get you a degree of sense. Some of these people you are some of the craziest, ignorantest people I've ever seen in my life with a degree. So what does it mean to have an education if you don't use it? What does it mean? It makes me think of the scarecrow. And literally, you didn't believe you had a brain until somebody gave you a piece of paper. Now, don't get it twisted. I respect education, love school, love classes, even plan on sometime when, taking classes. I'm always taking classes when I have time. But for me, it's more of a recreational thing. I have the things in place that I need in place to do what I want to do. Now, that being said, this isn't a dig against education. So I always want to be clear on that, because I think we're in a time where you cannot afford to allow your children to graduate and not seek a higher education. But we can be honest and say that there's a lot of gatekeeping in a lot of these professions, because a lot of these jobs, you don't need a degree to do them. As a matter of fact, I would argue some of the people with these degrees are so damn dumb, and I don't care who gets offended. I mean, I'm just don't have any goddamn sense. They had to make this simple. So now all those guys, the idiot's guide for this and the idiot's guide, it makes sense now, because a lot of these people, I'm seeing, like, you run around here talking about somebody else being dumb. You need to not ever talk about anybody not being educated or being dumb, because you don't have common damn sense and you're crazy. And you're always running around bumping your gums about we get us educated and look at this and no no no. And Michael, but you ain't doing shit. So then you got to deal with those people. Then you got to deal. You just go from one extreme to the other. Then you go over here to these bunch of lunatics. We need to burn the colleges down. Nobody needs to go to school. We got AI. Everybody's a genius now. Yeah, I mean, I do not. I'm just looking at our society today, and I'm wondering what the hell are we doing? I mean, what the hell are? Where are we headed? Your mission is dead on arrival because you don't have common damn sense. You don't have foresight. You're not as innovative as you think you are because you're trying to innovate your way out of human connection, human ability, capability. You just scrap all that because you got a few fancy machines, right? You got a few fancy robots. You're going to automate it. Meanwhile, you are creating a nation full of shiftless, lazy people who have no vision and no direction. And then you wonder why you have a society that looks the way it does. Well, sooner or later, they're going to come knocking on your door. So hopefully you have enough money where you can hire a militia to protect you because this is not going to end well at the rate we are going. You cannot create a nation of people who don't have purpose. They don't have jobs. You can't get a job. You can't get a house. You can't get a car. So what else are you going to do? That saying, eat the rich starts looking real different, don't it? I'm just saying. So anyway, this is what I've been working on building. I'm not done. So actually, this is not what I have been working on building. I did this tonight. So this will be the next series that'll be coming up. And I just wanted to come over here and ramble a little bit because I said I was going to do a video and just, flesh it out. And I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, you're welcome to join the discussion. Put a comment down below. If you want the link to come up, you can do that. I know I shouldn't be drinking tea this late. So the training paradox. I was just thinking about how we promote people to these positions and then you don't give them any support. And so I had my good friend Jim and I here run the numbers for me, and the data said that 60% of new supervisors receive no training on soft skills or power dynamics. I can say this is absolutely true because I never received any such type training. Not only that, you don't create a space for supervisors and managers to collide. You should be facilitating events. I would even say roundtable discussions where middle managers meet. You can't have, so here's the thing. Upper management has its place, but we understand that upper management is always going to be concerned with the optics and did it get done. They don't care how it got done, just as long as it's done. This is where middle management comes in, the worker bees. You are going around and you're making sure that the systems are in place. You're making sure that the work gets done. The problem is you don't have any support. So yeah, I'm talking to the middle managers today. You don't have any support. You don't get it from the top and you don't get it from the bottom. So you're kind of stuck in the middle. The employees don't want to mess with you because you're actually trying to maintain the system because that's what you get paid to do. They don't care that you have a SOP. They don't care that you're rated on their performance. All they care about is, shoot, if I was a supervisor, I wouldn't be telling nobody nothing. I wouldn't worry about what none of y'all around here doing. Yeah, and that's why the company closed. So what do you do when the system fails? You don't have a job, dummy. But you see, those people who think like that, there's a reason why you are where you are. You have no regard for the whole picture. You just, and listen, being a worker, be myself, and coming from that working class chronicles, right? I have the mentality and the belief that the workers, even if you are not in a leadership position, you are a leader, because when you show up every day at work, you are representing yourself. And in the interest of self governance, you owe it to yourself, your family, or even if you are a party of one and you just got a damn dog, you owe it to you and your damn dog, your goldfish, your cat, your monkey, your frog, whatever you got, to seek the best deal that you can for yourself. You're supposed to do that. But I say to you, middle manager, I know it gets on your nerves, because it's like they're always testing, they're always poking, they're always challenging, they're always prodding. And then when you finally have to discipline somebody, well, here comes the people at the top. Well, aren't you being a little hard on them over there? Why don't you just let we really don't want to see them go. We really have a hard time getting new hires. And so here you are being talked out of disciplinary action. And that's going to be the next discussion that we're going to talk about. What to do if you are in a leadership position and you don't have support. How do you, because you're fighting two fronts. You're fighting upper management for the resources and things you need for your team. You're fighting for the support that you, and here's the thing, if you're in a toxic work environment, and for example, you have a boss that is targeting you, and you have a team, it's really hard to manage, because your team is now a weapon. And those weapons would already be aimed at you in general as a purveyor of all procedure. So you were going to deal with that kickback, that fallout. But anyway, now you have a boss that doesn't like you, an employee that's facing discipline. So they have incentive, they have reason to see you gone, to see you ended. So they have no problem with creating a story and being a victim. And there you go. Stuck in the middle. Middle management is let me watch my mouth. But listen, this is where the Jade method comes in. Other tools that we use, we put in our toolkits. This is Toolkit Tuesday, and we'll talk about some of the skills and practices that you'll need to navigate these types of spaces. Because imagine being a supervisor is difficult enough in a healthy working environment. Can you imagine doing it in a toxic work environment where every little thing becomes a problem? For example, I can tell you right now, a lot of the reasons why a lot of the attacks that happened to me failed was because the people who engage in the toxic behavior, I don't know if it's just overconfidence, but they are so fixated. But the Bible does say, when you dig one ditch, I'm paraphrasing here, you better dig two. They're so fixated on trying to do shit to you that they don't think it through. They forget that there are rules to this, that the energy you put out, it comes back. It's got to go somewhere. It just doesn't disappear. Like we are, everybody today, and I'm just so sick of people talking about the science behind this, the science behind you. Like you motherfuckers always talking about the science behind something. Sometimes people don't give a damn about their amygdala being hijacked or what their prefrontal cortex is doing or any of that other nonsense. They want to know, what can you do to help me deal with this shit right here? This disrespectful person who's coming in here every day with an attitude, disrespecting me, and I'm supposed to coach them? How? And what does that coaching even look like? And why is everybody a damn coach now? This makes no sense. And what are they coaching these people to do? I'm like, with all the coaches and therapy and everybody's running, get therapy. Listen, I'm on Clubhouse to listen to some of these rooms, and the most toxic people on the stage are up there yelling about somebody going to damn therapy. Why don't you go? And now, Move expeditiously. I mean, really. You got all these gurus, coaches, leaders, team lead. I like, listen, all this talking and you haven't showed me how to do one fucking thing that's going to help me move the needle, that's going to help me perform, that's going to make me better. That's what I need to hear. I don't care about my amygdala right now. I'm under siege. And that's literally what people are saying is feeling it. I'm like, I know that's real. You're feeling that at home. Don't whoop the kids. Okay, now the kids is trying to whoop me. So the kids are trying to whoop you. You don't get any respect at work. You literally are the new edition of the new version of Rodney Dangerfield in your own house. You can't get any respect. So what are you gonna do? You're like, I go home. I can't jade at home because I wasn't justifying, argue, defending, or explaining to these damn kids in the first place. Like, can we get some just common sense things to help the people move the needle? And I know middle managers are saying the same thing. You know, you can read all these leadership books. That's great. But can you tell me what to do about old girl that just cussed me out because I told her to get on fries today? What am I supposed to? I can't lead her into greatness. Okay. She doesn't even want to hear me tell her to go get on fries. You think she's gonna let me tell her how to change her life? I mean, like, let's just keep it real. What am I supposed to do with that? You're supposed to have support. You're supposed to have infrastructure. Leadership is supposed to support you. There is nothing worse than a leader that treats their managers as if they are not part of their team. You know, you ever have to, there's some about the team. Like, you do know that I'm a member of your team, right? You do know that, as a matter of fact, before you get to them, you should be coaching me. I mean, we love to coach all the damn time. You're not going to coach me. If you have a problem with how I lead, you're not going to have, you don't want to discuss the policy or how you want me to address them. There's nothing worse than a weak, feckless leader that doesn't want to make any decisions, but they always want to try to push everything off on you, because a person like that always needs a scapegoat. Then you have the other extreme, the person who is angry, argumentative, and you can't tell them anything. They don't ever want to hear anything. They just need you to go make it work. Make it go. And there you are, middle managers, stuck again. It's just one extreme or another. And every now and then, people are blessed enough to get really good leadership that will actually coach, train, help, and help you reach your greatest potential as a leader. But let's just be honest, those cases are few and far between. When I think of, if you ask people, like, who was your favorite teacher? People can tell you right off the bat. Who was your favorite supervisor or leader? I haven't worked at a place where I have had that. I can honestly say I think I have only had that. Well, you know what? So people are flawed. Nobody's perfect. But so that be keeping in mind, I would say I had 3 people that were really good to work for, and they were still often ineffective because of leadership at the top. Again, always concerned about the optics. So there does come a point where you have to start. This is why we're building the systems out here. You have to focus on your locus of control. You do have to make a decision where you want to go. And if you're in a situation, because I do hate the conversation where people are telling people, well, quit your job. It really does come from a position of how can I, privilege. It's just privilege, right? Because Why do you think it's just easy for somebody to walk away from a job, especially when we're in an economy where people are losing their jobs? I went into Walgreens today and I was listening to the employees talk about how shitty Walgreens treats them. And I was like, well, I never thought about it. I just come in here to get my stuff and go. But then when I think about it, it's like, yeah. And I forgot that years ago I had worked part time at Walgreens. Now I can say I didn't work there long enough to remember it being horrible, but just hearing them talk about that, I mean, I had a lot of jobs as a cashier, and I know dealing with the public can be a mess. And when you are in a job where you're dealing with the public on a daily basis, you at least want to get paid, right? That's why you're there. You're not there because you didn't have anything else to do. Hey, I think I'll come over here and work the register. No, you obviously need the money. But again, what happens when the organization that you belong to does not support you? They don't pay you, and they just want you to shut up and take whatever they dish out. What happens when you work in an organization and they allow toxic work environments to fester? You know, I have a relative that works in the hospitality industry, and she was telling me about how a lot of the hospitals, and I mean the hospitals, but hotels, they get money for hiring um, people who live in these housing projects nearby. The government gives them subsidies. And so they will allow these people to come to work and engage in some of the most egregious behavior. And I was just fascinated by some of the stories that they tell. And over time, when I think back to when she was first telling me these things and I watched the track of those hotels always ultimately end up shifting ownership. The name gets changed, people get laid off, or it just closes completely. A house divided against itself will not stand, it will fall. The Bible says that. So, what do you think will happen in your organization because you're so petty and small minded? You don't know how to get up and get on with it and just do your job. You're running around plotting and conniving, trying to get somebody fired because you have decided that they didn't deserve a promotion or that they don't deserve a job or they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't have that. But while you're doing all these, while you're shooting all over everybody, who told you your ass should be there? What makes you think that you are oh, you have a degree? Well, then you should be, if you have a degree and you think that makes you better than me or whoever else around here, you need to examine yourself. Second Corinthians 13:5 is a good place for you to start looking. Because if I and my infinite knowledge and education had all these degrees and all this education, and somebody who I believed was incompetent, incapable, and unqualified received the promotion over me, I would have to ask, how did I get here? But I know you do what most people do, and you will lie to yourself and say, it's because they were friends with the person. I can definitely say in my case, that wasn't the case. I didn't even know that lady. I knew the lady in passing. I didn't know her. But keep telling yourself that story. Make yourself great again. That's what I would say to the person. You know, examine yourself. That is why I take the time every Sabbath to do the Hebrew Woman Show. That is the reason why I'm here doing this show. The whole purpose of this show is so that I can examine myself, because I understand that I'm not always doing what I need to do. I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to have to humble myself to correct those mistakes. But if you are of the attitude that if you got can't be wrong disease, and you can't look yourself in the mirror and just tell the damn truth, well, I have been disrespectful. Who in their right mind would put you next to them when you're disrespectful to them? And then not only are you disrespectful, you were actually trying to get them fired. Like what? Like, and then they know it. Do you think they really would put you next to them? That would make them just as incompetent as you are, wouldn't it? Because clearly it's a case of incompetence. Because why would you believe that any reasonably intelligent person would have somebody that was actively trying to stab them in the back sitting next to them? Just one of those things that I think about when I think about some of these stories and some of these things that I've even witnessed and experienced in my own life. Imagine coming on social media to create content, not knowing the lay of the land, think you're just coming up here and people come and they start communing in your space, and they come up on a panel, and next thing you know, you start meeting some interesting women and you start having some conversations. Lo and behold, you come and find out they're secretly recording conversations. They're adding conversations. They're generating text messages. They're just creating their own little fictional world about you. It's a smear campaign. And that's one of the things that happens in a toxic work environment as well. So it normally starts with, and for middle managers, it normally starts with disciplinary action. And if you have a toxic leader that's not supporting you, they will help facilitate it because they want you gone anyway. As a matter of fact, they don't even care about the employee's behavior who you disciplined at the time because you were a bigger fish to fry. And then you wonder why your mission is dead on arrival. I think a lot of organizations fail because they don't take the time to mine for the diamonds that they have right there in their midst. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has something that they excel at. So instead of taking the time to try to search that out and help the employees grow into that and utilize those resources, anybody that's shining, you feel is shining brighter than you, or even or has the possibility to shine better than you, you remove them. I remember having a supervisor hire someone who was really, really, really just not a good fit. And I just was wondering, like, are they really going to give this person a gun? He ended up getting fired, of course. It should be no surprise. But the reasoning was, he's easy to control. Why do you want to hire people that are easy to control? Meaning he was dumb, right? You want thinkers around you. You want people. You don't want employees that you have to sit around and move like a robot. You know, like those old robots usually had to move the arms and the legs like the old Barbie dolls. You want people who can think for themselves. You want people who can do things without you having to be running up behind. Like, it really annoys me if I have to send you a message every day about basic shit. Do you have a manual? Because there does come a point where if you don't know how to do something, you should ask for help. And if you're too prideful for that, you should at least just read the damn manual so you don't have to keep putting yourself out there. You know, one thing about being in a toxic work environment, I can say from my personal experience, was that I learned the hard way. Doing shit wrong is expensive because every mistake you make is weaponized. Every wrong word you speak is weaponized. Even the good things you do are weaponized. So you know damn well your mistakes are going to be exaggerated to the nth. So this is why it's important. We're going to go back and revisit the conversation about how not knowing the rules can hurt you at home and at work. This image here is created because I talked about it a little bit earlier, the effect of mirage. A lot of people in leadership hire people who can give off the impression that they're effective, that they're tough, they're stern, they're willing to discipline people. But really, it's all fake. It's a mirage. It's fake. And you don't know that because you don't take the time to come down and commune with the little people. That's why middle management, if the least you could do is invest in and nurture your assets. Middle management is an asset. And any person who's in a leadership position, if you have supervisors, you should be doing everything you can to activate, train, and propel them forward because they are the ones that are going to protect you. And so this is how you know some people just don't think. They're not, they don't have any foresight because you're so busy trying to eliminate and harass and do shit to the people who can help you. If I were in a leadership position and I had supervisors, there's no way in hell I'm going to be running around doing a bunch of little menial tasks that they can handle. As a matter of fact, they are your buffer between you and the team. Because if you are in leadership, you're busy. And more than likely, you're busy doing a lot of things outside of the organization or with people higher up than you are, right? They'll keep you tied up. That's where you count on your supervisors. If you are in a place where you don't get to pick the supervisors, I like John Maxwell's example of the guy Clyde. He found out who was really in charge. Find out who's really in charge of the organization that you've just entered. A lot of times it's not who you think it is. The majority of organizations and business have de facto leadership. You don't believe me? The next team meeting you're in, watch the people in the meeting. If they defer to the leader, meaning when the leader says something, everybody's looking to the leader. Or are they looking across the room to the person laid off in the cut? That's your de facto leader. And when they speak, everybody listens. And they take their cues from there. Now, whether it's out of fear or cajoling or whatever, or just natural camaraderie, I don't know. But if you're new to an organization, you need to find out. And it is a mistake for anyone to join a clique if you're new. It can be fatal. Fatal in it can kill your damn career because you aligned with the wrong group too soon. I think at a certain age, work cliques kind of, you should have grown out of them, but I mean, it doesn't happen. And that's not to say that you shouldn't get along with your coworkers. You can go to lunch, you'll have fun. I think in the sense of a clique like that, that's perfectly reasonable and healthy. Now, if we're talking about cliques where your office is operating like a gang, then we're dealing with a whole different animal here. And if you have leadership that refuses to address it, you have to ask why, because there is a why behind it. A lot of times it's liability, because admitting that they have the wrong leader or removing the leader that is problematic is basically saying, yeah, we fucked up. Most organizations won't do that. As a matter of fact, they will die on that hill with that toxic leader. Which that again goes back to me saying, this is how you can tell a lot of people in leadership have no foresight. Because you watch these issues go to court repeatedly and you keep getting your ass handed to you. So why keep going? Literally beating a dead horse. And when you have an employee that keeps extending you the olive branch to fix it, you double down. Your mission is dead on arrival. If you're a leader and you don't have anybody around you, like they say Donald Trump is, they say he can't, he doesn't have anybody that can tell him no. And if that's true, I think it's unfortunate, because if you don't have anybody around you that can tell you when you're screwing up or when you're about to make a mistake, because keep in mind, if a person is operating from a Napoleon perspective, he said never interrupt your enemy when they're in the middle of making a mistake. People will just stand around and watch you fall. You always want to have, and they're annoying, right? People who, the truth tellers, the ones who will point out the elephant in the room, they're annoying. I know I'm annoying because I can't just sit there and pretend I don't see the elephant. That's me. I'm one of those people. I'm like, yeah, I don't see that elephant over there. They're like, damn. Yeah, that's me. Truth tellers are annoying, or people who tell their version of the truth, because you may argue that that's not the truth. Well, whatever your perspective is, I always make it a rule to have people around me who I vehemently disagree with, sometimes violently so. Not violently in the sense that I'm putting my hands on them, but it just it just does something to me to even hear your voice. Those are the people I listen to as much as possible, because I know what I think. What I'm trying to discover is what could be an alternative. And if I know that I dial in to certain frequencies and I'll get stuck, right? So it's imperative for me to have a collection of different people around me who feel very differently. If you paid attention when we were here, Nyla, Cynthia G, we are diametrically opposed. Now, we come together on a lot of issues when we were doing shows. I agree with them on a lot of things, but a lot of things no, because I come from a Bible-based perspective. And if you think that is not it doesn't make you somebody's enemy just because you don't share the same faith system. It just means you're just traveling along different roads, and that's okay. Because we'll see in the end, right? But the point is, I know what I think. I need to hear the other side. And hearing the other side, a lot of times if it's right and I think about it and I meditate on it, I don't have a problem with shifting. I'm not going to tie myself to an ideology other than the Bible. And definitely not to something so much so that I can't let go and shift when necessary. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. And I'll tell you something, being new in leadership, I've made a lot of mistakes that in hindsight, I'm like, boy, that was dumb. But just like they say, your parents or the people who raised you can't give you what they didn't have. You can't get and shit all over yourself because you did what you didn't know. You just don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. But when you know better, you do better. It's just that simple. And I think a lot of this stuff is common sense, but I just think people don't have a willingness to do what's right. And so unwilling and entrenched in their recalcitrance that they will just stay the course until the wheels fall off. That is not me. I like my wheels to stay on my car, so I'm going to go and get my tires rotated, get some new tires if I need to, but I'm not trying to be stuck on the side of the road. And there are a lot of people who are stuck mentally, emotionally. You are 60, 70 years old, 50, 40, and you're still acting like a teenage girl. You're still jealous, angry, spiteful, vengeful. Why? What does it profit you? Running around talking about somebody stole something from you that didn't belong to you in the first place. Because if it was yours, you would have it. Entitlement. There's something wrong with you. But the reality of these leadership classes that these institutions set up for middle management are that they're ineffective. They're a waste of your time. A lot of times you'll find yourself sitting in these mind-numbing classes, listening in human resources, watching these videos that really do not do anything for you. You would gain better perspective and purpose sitting in a meeting with your peers. And I'm saying I like a good mind numbing class every now and then. If you're going to do that, fine. But you need to get your middle managers together. You need to set it up where they meet monthly. I don't care, whatever the industry, if they're in engineering, and then you got sales, whatever you have, whatever different divisions that you have, you pull the middle managers and you create events, activities, or just make it a just plain round table, and you have the people show up, and you have them talk to each other, and you have them come up with plans and ideas, because they need to support each other, because leadership is an isolating position. You will often stand alone, especially in middle management, because you're more than likely, if you're only one of two, or you're just one, or one of three. Sound like something from Star Trek, like the Borg. 3 of 9, 6 of 9. Anyway, they need to be around their peers so they can hash out the other stuff and then start having the conversations on the quote unquote effective supervisory practices. You want them to come together because more than likely, the majority of their time and their day is spent with subordinates. And you really create a insular box where they don't have anybody to talk to. So one of two things is going to happen. They're going to take one of their subordinates into their confidence, or they're going to be talking to people outside of your organization. And I don't know how secretive some organizations are about some things, but that may not be something that you want to happen. So you want to create spaces for them to meet so that they can come together and have these types of discussions so they can grow together. Problem: HR is too focused on compliance and not enough on actually helping one of their best resources, which are the people. I also think that a lot of these organizations reward and promote some of the worst actors in their employ because of this Machiavellian blind spot. People high up, I've been watching these interviews of leadership lately, and they're asking them, well, what do you read? And everybody said, oh, I read Sun Tzu, oh, I read the Stoics, I'm reading Marcus Aurelius, okay, I'm reading Machiavelli and the 48 Laws of Power. Fine. Well, one of the things that Machiavelli was doing was warning the prince. And if you really look at it, it wasn't just about like some of the qualities that he was talking about. You can say that they are negative, but he did emphasize prioritizing stability, being able to adapt, real virtue over pretend virtue. But there was a level of pragmatism to what he was teaching him, that there are times, and you look at this, and here I go again, back to law enforcement. Anybody that straps a gun to their behind every day and goes to work understands that they may have to use force. So I personally never took that lightly. And I never lied or kid myself that I wasn't willing to do the job, however that panned out. It's the same way in leadership. Sometimes you're going to be the person that everybody hates. And you need to make sure that you set up a support system so that you can do that effectively. You want to make sure that you have created a, council of people, because the Bible says without counsel, the people will fall. But in a multitude of counselors, there is safety. You want to create your own council. You need to find people who are going to support you, who want to see you grow, and who actually have your best interests at heart. And if your job is not a place where that can happen, you are going to have to create that outside of the organization, and it is key. It is important to you for not only at work, but at home. If you are looking to create a stable, healthy family, you need to be around people who have stable, happy families. It's just like if you want to be rich, you don't hang around with a bunch of poor people. It just doesn't work. There's a reason why God told the Israelites not to mix with other groups. He said, come out from among them because you are a separate and holy people. Because why? Because bad habits spoil good associations. So if you're running around with people who do drugs, it becomes normalized to you. It's no big deal to see somebody do some drugs. Well, next thing you know, now you're trying them. Because it's normalized. Now it's just so common. You start looking at it like, oh, everybody does. Oh, they do this. I didn't know that. You know? What is common becomes practical to you. Well, this makes sense. Well, they just want to soothe themselves. You start renegotiating your reality to fit the people you're around. So those graven images and idols that were once abhorrent to them, all of a sudden, oh, there's Bill over there. Hey, Belial. Just it's normalized toxicity. That's why you don't associate with people who are not doing anything with their lives. Same way at work. And if you are in a leadership position and you are alone and you are isolated, I always tell you all here, and I mean it sincerely from the bottom of my heart, you can always email and come on and have a discussion with us. And it doesn't even have to be live. You got questions, you have things you want to talk about, you can email me at sisth7@gmail.com, SISTH7@gmail.com. And now it's 9:34, so the whole purpose here is at least I have been impeccable with my word this day. I've been working on the class, and I came here and I had a conversation with you all. So that's what I was thinking about, though. I was just thinking about how a lot of these organizations are dead on arrival because they don't understand this basic thing that your workers are your billboard. You want to talk to people, like, for example, if you're in government and you want people to move to your city, if you are Jeff Bezos and you want people to come and work at Amazon, your employees are your best billboard because they're going to word of mouth, right? Oh my God, I love working for this place. This is the most amazing place. I remember when I used to work for Brookstone. They used to make it easy for the employees to buy the gadgets and stuff, right? Because when the people come into the store, you're going to talk about how great this pillow is. Man, I have 4. You're going to talk about the product. If you run a local government and you want people to come move to your town, your city, your state, treat your workers right. They are your walking billboards. Man, I love living in this city. It's great. It's the best. We have the best everything. We have the best art. We have the best museums. Your workers are your billboards. Treat them right. And they'll take care of you. Nobody is going to be a Buzz Lightyear ass bitch in 2026. They're not going to go to infinity and beyond for people who won't even pay them a decent wage. Anita Baker does not live here. Ain't nobody giving you the best that they got. For what? I remember when I used to work at the garden, there was a guy that used to work with me. He used to say minimum output for minimum pay. And I think this generation is built different. We had a generation, they would walk 13 miles to work in a blizzard with no coat and half a shoe. This generation ain't here, and I know I certainly wouldn't. Not playing with y'all. You treat me like I'm 8 to 5, I'm gonna behave like I'm 8 to 5. You treat me like a $12 worker, I'm gonna act like a $12 worker. Raise the minimum wage. What are you doing? If the average American cannot afford to buy a damn house, what the hell do you think that they're gonna do with under $15 an hour? And you're basing this off the median income that you say is between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. The math ain't mathing. If the average home price is $350,000, who gonna approve that loan for the $15 worker? Where they gonna live at? I'm just asking. So these are things that I think about sometimes. But anyway, I'm still building this out, and when I'm done with it, I'll come up here and we'll have the discussion. If you want to be on the panel, you can email me at sister7@gmail.com and say, hey, Kiana, I want to, or Ren, or whatever you want to call me, I want to come up and have that discussion. I want to talk about the training paradox. Got it? So that's what we're going to talk about. Your mission is dead on arrival. Why large, small, whatever kind of organizations fail from the onset? It's because you don't invest in your people. And you don't want to pay no damn body. Bye.